Welcome to Mystical Sedona, where we explore the unexplained, the paranormal, the mystical, the magical, and the spiritual. All of us here we're all mediums, psychics, explorers of the unknown, and we want to help you sort fact from fiction. So we're going to be doing a lot of interesting exploration on today's show. And I want to introduce our co-host, Anita Owens. She is with Sedona UFO and Vortex Tours. Welcome, Anita.
Thank you.
And today we are going to be having our wonderful astrology fast blast. We'll be back just a moment, so stay with us. Okay, let me. Welcome back to Mystical Sedona, and now it's time for your Astrology Fast Blast with Sandrea of InfluenceYourStars.com. Welcome back, Sandrea.
Thank you, and I'm so glad to be back again.
What do you have for us today?
Well, today I'm going to start off in a little bit different way, and I'm going to read to you just a short thing from Tagore. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless in facing them. Let me not beg for the stilling of my pain, but for the heart to conquer it. Let me not look for allies in life's battlefield, but to my own strength. And that again is from Tagore. And I'm starting like that because humanity is in the middle of an incredible shift. And I'm sure you must have heard of it by now. And if you haven't, well, I'm telling you about it now. There is a shift, a huge opening, a crack in time, shown by Neptune being in its exoteric sign of Pisces. The veil between our human and our divinity is very thin now. It's easier to pierce the barriers of ego and deeply align with the powers of our soul. In order to do this, we must let the old go. Make way for the true new. If you don't let the old go, you're going to be actually blocking this magnificent opportunity of possibilities that is upon us now. And during this month now, when the sun is in the sign of transformation and resurrection, the sign of Scorpio, this is the perfect time to consciously align with the celestial flow in doing your cleaning of your closets. And I'm not talking about the closets of your house, that too, but the closets of your mind, the closets of your heart and your soul, and let everything go that isn't the truth of your being. How do you know it's not the truth of your being? If you're not feeling at peace, and you're not feeling at love, if you're not feeling expansive, then you are not living at the true heights of you. So, now that the sun is in Scorpio, we want to pay attention to its rulers, Pluto and Mars. Pluto is called the exoteric or the mundane ruler, and Mars is the esoteric, the spiritual ruler. So Pluto performs incredible functions in our life. The continual removal of excremental energies. Just like we do our toiletries in the morning and let go of all the built-up fecal matter, we need to be letting go of the built-up emotional matter and the mental matter and the old betrayals and the he did me wrong songs, and let all that just pass through. If you hold on to that, then your receptacle, your vehicle, your passage through for the new that is already coming around, it's within us, it's surrounding us, we're breathing it, it's everywhere. And don't be fooled by appearances. The shift is fully in bloom now within all of us. And so we allow the excremental passages in our mental, emotional, spiritual system, and then, wow, we're in the place to be lifted. There's a place that we cannot take ourselves. We've taken ourselves to a certain point, but the place of true illumination and ascension and resurrection, that's the gift. That's the gift that's given us. And there's kind of a joke about that, because the truth is it's already happening, blah, 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 blah. We can go and we can use that mind stuff, and it's great at times to remind ourselves of it. But we need to live in the reality of where we find ourselves. Do not blind your eyes. Do not close your ears. Be willing to see whatever flaws appear. We want them to come up. We want to see what's blocking us now. Because once we see it, that's all we need for the transforming of it. So use this Scorpio time and use the Mars. Mars is the energy of action. And Mars has just recently been in the sign of Capricorn, where the action was about manifestation and really working in the mundane physical worlds and going up against powers and setting loose our own internal authority and power. And now, just a couple of days ago, it has moved into the sign of Aquarius, the sign of freedom, the sign of enlightenment and ascension. And it's the rebel and it's the revelator. It's revelation time. And so Mars in Aquarius, it wants to be free of all the niceties and the laws of being polite and this and that. It wants to be free to just be authentic and just be itself. So you want to give yourself permission to let yourself go, to be authentic, to take chances, to risk putting your foot in your mouth and maybe down your throat or up your and so give yourself really, how would I say it? You want to give yourself some leeway, some birth for yourself to make mistakes, have some errors, to fall down, to not be perfect, and give that to your partners and friends as we are traversing this place of going into a space where we've never gone before. We don't know how to do this. We just aim to do the best we can, and we stay awake and aware. And the moment we do a blooper or the middle finger flies up or what have you, when we catch ourselves, we don't stay in righteous anger or any righteously negative states. We notice that. We put a smile on our face and we aim for correction. And we don't have to know what that correction is. We need to, with Neptune and Pisces, that is the planet of unity with the One, with our true divinity, with the all that is. And as we are aligning with that, staying in prayer mode, staying in connection with our God, the God in our universe, asking to be shown what is the next step, what is the next step, because we're taken to the precipice of a place we have never gone before. Yay. So I want to turn to you and see now, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments, anything you'd like to say about what I've said so far?
Honestly, it's making me think about clients that I talk to and people who think that they're not part of this change. They don't feel it within themselves.
Yes.
And yet then they talk about things happening in their life, and I can see it so clear that they are making changes, that they are changing. And so I think sometimes it happens so slow that if you're not really paying attention to your spiritual journey, you don't even realize it's happening. But it is everybody.
Yes, and it's also subtle. Sometimes the changes are subtle. But, if you just live as if even if you don't believe it, believe me, this is the piece that I can bring to it. That being a Pisces, they have that saying that you had to believe it in order to manifest it. Well, if that was the case, I would not be sitting here to this day because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in anything, really. But I had the audacity to keep asking for the things that I wanted. So just trusting that just trusting that the shift is upon you, and trusting that every circumstance in your life, no matter what it appears, is in divine order. It's your job to face whatever is showing up and face it with love. And that's the other half of Aquarius, is the love. And our job is to aim to be like that sun. And what does the sun do? It shines on everything and everyone without exception. It doesn't matter if it's the rabbi, the rapist, or the rabbit. The sun is going to shine its love on everything all the time. And if we just aim to emulate the sun and keep our heart open to ourselves, number one, and to our loved ones, and to especially our enemies or the people that have betrayed us or whatever, we can go through that with our hearts open and our love, because if we don't, we are going to miss this incredible opportunity that is right here now.
Amen. Yeah. Beautifully said. Thank you, Sandrea.
Thank
that was
you so
really
much.
Powerful.
I'm so grateful. It just feels so good to be able to share this awakening, because I can see it so clearly.
Oh, I understand that.
Yes.
That's one reason the show was created, as a vehicle to get the message out there.
Yes, I see it in you, and you carry the incredible angel energy. And also Mars in Aquarius is about connecting with that angel energy within ourselves. So,
thank you. And please stay tuned. We're going to be right back. We have our special guest today, Luna Star Van Atta, who's the author of The Secret Life of an Astral Traveler. And she'll be right back to talk about astral travel and how she helps people heal through grief with that. So we'll be right back. Hello, I'm going to give you an angelic message straight from the angelic realm. This is something that was given to me yesterday as I had some time to sit and just do meditation, and I know that this was a direct result of all of the readings I've had over the last week that involved this topic, and I was sort of pondering it, and I heard very clearly we all need to stop comparing ourselves to others. And how that really relates to your spiritual journey is the angels are telling me that it's a huge roadblock that we put in our own way. And I'm going to give you an example of this. I was doing a reading for somebody yesterday, and this is a student of mine, and he was saying that he had read both of these books on light workers that I had suggested he read, and he said he had so many aha moments, but then he finished and he was depressed. And I said, why were you depressed? And he said, because I thought I'd be further along by now. I watch other people, they know their mission, they're working it, and I still feel like I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do. And so right then I'm like, you have to stop looking at what other people are doing, where they are and what they're doing. They're not you, and you're not them. And you don't know the challenges that they have or what they had to go through to get to that point. They may have been looking for 25, 30 years before they found their mission. It happens. It took me a lot longer than that. So you got to stop looking at other people. It's for your spiritual mission. It's for everyday life. You will hold yourself back in so many ways. So instead, the angels really want you to focus just on yourself. When you feel your attention being pulled to other people and other people's accomplishments in particular, please immediately recognize what you're doing and pull it back to what you're doing right now. Put all your energy into overcoming your obstacles you have, into spending more time meditating, into paying more attention to the signs your angels are giving you. Verbal, synchronistic, written signs, they're everywhere. We were talking earlier to a guest that was talking about signs, and he sees it too. They're just all around us. So don't put your energy into what you don't have and where you're not. Really move forward and put all your energy into getting to the next level for you, because you are unique. Your journey, your story is unique. Your talents are unique. And so if you have any further doubts about that, you can always call and talk to me about it. But just remember, your angels want you to stop looking at everybody else and stop comparing and just focus on your solo journey. You have a beautiful day.
And you're clear.
Welcome back to Mystical Sedona. Our special guest today is Luna Starr Van Atta. She is the author of The Secret Life of an Astral Traveler, and she's going to be discussing how she uses astral travel to help people get over grief. So welcome, Luna.
Thank you,
So happy
Ivan.
to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, one thing you talked about in your book, which, by the way, I enjoyed very much. Was
Thank you. Thanks.
It went in some directions I definitely wasn't expecting. So I was like, what's coming up next?
Yeah.
What is the difference between a near-death experience and an out-of-body experience to you, in your
Okay.
words?
Well, I've actually had both. And my out-of-body experiences, that was when I was a teenager. And I spontaneously popped out of my physical body. And it was very fearful and scary, and then I just popped right back in again. Astral travel is more like a planned event. So having an intention of where you're going to go, going out of body, having experiences, maybe meeting with other astral travelers, and then coming back.
That's
So-
very interesting. It's interesting you've had both, too,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, with the near-death experience, I actually died on the operating table, and I lifted up out of my body through my crown chakra, almost like pulling a hand out of a glove. It was very easy. It was painless, totally silent, and I raised up above my physical body, looking down on it. It was only about an inch long. I was up so high, and then from there, I went into the light and met with God and had a very spiritual experience.
Well, that
So-
certainly will put you on this particular path, won't
Yes,
it?
yes, life-changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was very interested in, because you and I talked before we even scheduled you for the show and talking about your work, and I'm a medium, so I help people. Grief counseling is pretty much a big part of what I do, and I like that you were saying how good this is for grief counseling. So how do
Yes.
you use that astral travel to help people who are grieving?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that our culture has a great fear of death. It's the fear of the unknown. And so being able to guide people to the other side and help them have a spiritual experience is very healing. And they can call in their deceased loved ones, have conversations that they always wish they could have, because a lot of times when we lose a loved one, we are wishing that we could have had that last conversation. A lot of times there's guilt involved, or maybe even anger. And the spirit that's on the other side is totally pure. It's in God's world, and it's full of love. And so we leave our ego-based physical bodies, go over to the other side of the veil, connect with that loving, forgiving spirit, and there's so much healing that takes place.
Yes, I would imagine so. That's one thing, like, I like to teach people how to communicate directly with their deceased loved ones, because I think that's really where the healing is,
Yes.
not coming to see me all the time. So I like that, taking it even a step further, and they actually go to the other side.
Yeah.
So I know that you're teaching workshops on this. How do you do that? Like, tell me what a workshop would
Okay.
be like.
So when I teach a workshop, I do talk a little bit about my near-death experience, just so that they understand what happened within that process. And then I go through the changes of brainwave activity. We all have a change of brainwave activity when we dream, when we go into meditation, so they realize this is not such a big scary thing. You know, it happens to all of us all the time, that our brainwave activity changes, and basically what happens is that we become somewhat disconnected from our physical bodies when that happens, because we're just not aware of our physical bodies when we're meditating or dreaming. So I teach them about the altered states and the changes of brainwave activity. Then I take them on guided meditations. The first thing I do is that I guide them to the other side of the veil so that they can build what I call an astral temple. The whole astral temple evolved from a dream that I had when Edgar Cayce visited me in a dream and taught me all about this astral temple concept. So I take people to the other side of the veil. They build their own sacred space to do their work, and they get an address so that they can go back there with intent. Then I take them, they come back in, they journal, they draw pictures. I take them back out again, and they call in spirit guides, so they can meet with spirit guides that help them. They come back, do some more journaling. Then the last time I take them out, they go back to their astral temples, and they call in a deceased loved one and have a very emotional experience. There's always tears. Everybody has their individual little Kleenex package.
Very necessary.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of grief that's released during that process.
Oh, I can imagine. I always say I should take stock out in Kleenex, so I can only imagine you got a group going there.
And then I always bring them back, so I don't leave them out there.
I'm glad to hear that. 10 people
lost
attended
anyone
and
yet.
7 came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
I love that. I know you do remote viewing, and I really was
Yes.
interested in that. 'Cause, you know, I do remote viewing.
Awesome.
One of my partners does remote viewing, but you actually work for the government doing that. So what was your
Okay.
experience with that?
Well, I didn't work directly for the government, but I worked for a group that reported to the government. So I would get a phone call from a mediary who would give me a target number. Sometimes I would have a little bit of information on the target. Sometimes I would just get a number so that I didn't get what's called analytical overlay, right? And I'm sure you know what that is. So I wouldn't bring in my own thoughts of what I thought I should view. And so then I would work the target. At that time, my husband was also a remote viewer. That's how I met him. He was my remote viewing teacher. He's now in the spirit world. And so we would work the targets together usually. So we'd go into trance together, altered brainwave state. We would focus on a specific target, and typically with a military target, you have a very specific protocol that you have to follow. So part of that is writing the target number and drawing what's called an ideogram off from the last number, which is like a reflexive scribble. And that scribble contains all of the information of the target. And so you probe that scribble with your pen, and you start downloading information. And so you write down aspects, you write down all kinds of things, all the information that you're getting. You're drawing pictures, and then we would submit that back to the intermediary who would then provide it to the government.
Very
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Did you ever get to hear the outcome of any of that? I think you said no.
Well, sometimes you would find out the outcome because something bad didn't happen in the country. We worked some terrorist attacks. We located nuclear suitcase bombs. We found terrorists that had crossed the Canadian border into the U.S. And so because we worked those targets, those incidences didn't end up in the newspaper.
That's the
So-
best way to find out the results.
Yeah,
Bad
so
things don't
that was
happen.
wonderful confirmation of, okay, you know, we contributed in a positive way, so.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So people always ask this question. When you're doing anything with mediumship, there's people who are concerned that you're going to call in negative spirits. So what do you do for spiritual protection to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, and I also do teach my students protection before I take them out of body. So what I do is I call in divine light into my heart space, and I use breath work, and I also use I am statements. And so it's a positive way to move past any negative blockages or negative energies that might be within your spirit body before you go. So I use some very specific breath work. The I am statements was a channeled process that came to me years ago. And then with the breath work, we expand that divine light from the heart space outward, which is pushing any darkness out, and also calling in benevolent spirit guides, highly evolved guides to be with us. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like people to hear that because I
Yes.
want to put their fears to rest. So
Yes, very important.
I know we talked about that soul signatures. I'm just curious about that. Talk about that a little bit. What
Okay.
is it?
The way that I was brought to the forefront of my mind was by getting some aura photos done. And I realized that there was a specific pattern that was happening in my aura no matter how I felt. So when I was feeling different, my aura would change colors. But in every single aura photograph, I had this magenta handlebar mustache coming out of my temples.
Attractive.
So I was like, yeah. It's like, wow, that's my soul signature. It's like a
Interesting.
fingerprint of my specific aura. So even though when I'm thinking or feeling something different, those colors are changing. This magenta mustache stays there all the time.
Do you see other people's soul signature?
I don't see auras. I do not see auras.
I don't either.
I sense them energetically, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see auras.
I would like to. That
yeah.
would be really fun.
Yeah.
That's why we have aura cameras.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
There was something else I wanted to ask you about, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was about your workshop. Let's talk about that before we run out of time, because I know you do
Okay.
have a workshop on this coming up, and when is that?
Yes. Well, and actually I have two. I have one coming up this Saturday, November 12th in Phoenix. The one in Sedona will be next Wednesday night, the 16th, at Sedona Creative Life Center from 7 to 9. And it will be focused on helping people heal from grief. So, yeah, that's,
Do you think anybody can learn astral travel?
yes. I think anyone that will allow themselves to learn it can learn it.
Kind of like anybody can develop their intuition if
That's
they
right.
want to develop
We already
it.
have the tools,
Yeah.
we just need to release the blockages.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think some people have it happen spontaneously and they don't
Yes.
realize that's what's happening. Because I've heard
And-
of people having that happen.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens when we're dreaming. So,
So how do you know it happens when you're dreaming? Like what would that feel like
well,
or
you
look
might
like?
just like wake up from a dream and think, wow, it felt really real.
That's every night for me.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you're probably doing it every night. And so, you know, I was in a different place. I was interacting with different people. And, you know, I think having those lucid dreams where you're in control of what's going to happen in the dream, I think that's
I
a
guess I
really
do astral
good
travel.
indication of astral
I didn't
travel.
know that's what it was. I always call that
Yeah.
my other life.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really cool. So if somebody has never done astral travel, how many classes or workshops do you think they'd need to attend to be able to do it?
Just one.
That's great. So
Just
just
one.
one. I
Yes.
hope people hearing this will, because I know this show may not air in time for these, but why don't you give your website?
Okay.
Just so we have that
Yeah,
on the
it's
show.
lunavanata.com, so it's Luna, V as in Victor, ANATTA.com. And I
easy
have an
enough.
events page that tells what I have coming up.
That
so,
way we won't
yeah.
miss a thing. I know I'm eventually going to end up at one of your
I
workshops
hope
because
so.
I think it'd
That
be
would
really
great.
fun.
Yeah, that would be.
800 number, or anything like that? Phone number?
Your phone number.
Oh, 928-284-4177.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Luna. It was a
thank
pleasure
you.
having you on the show.
Thank you.
And I
I
want to
really
show
enjoyed
this
it.
beautiful
Oh, yes,
book because
thank you.
look how lovely her book is. And it's a bestseller on Amazon. Look at that. We have a celebrity here today.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much. Woo! We'll be right back after this commercial break. Stay tuned. It's will be the paranormal segment of our show with Anita Owens. So Anita, what do you have for us today? I know it's UFOs.
It is going to be UFOs, but before I go to the UFO videos, I wanted to show you this right here. So you talk about, was I abducted? I was surrounded, not abducted, but surrounded. These are beings of light. So this goes way beyond orbs. If you look at this, an orb is kind of like just a round, I don't know, transparent kind of an energy. Look at, these are bodies of light. So these higher, well, I call them travelers, multidimensional beings. When we talked about, Sandrea talked about the shift earlier on, this is the shift. This is the awakening process. We have these multidimensional, higher dimensional beings of light that are coming in. And when I see them, this is what my camera captures. But when I see them, they're these like 12-foot, I just want to say like angelic beings, but look how much we are completely surrounded. So they're here helping us with the shift. The shift is happening, and I've got, you know, proof. I've got
need all the
photos
help
of it.
we
I
can
know,
get.
exactly. Well, we are the ones who's bringing in disclosure. And so the government can't do this. They can't disclose, but it's time. And it's time that we learn to work with these beings of light because they're here to help us, to heal us. They love us very much, and they want to see the entire planet and all of the life forms on the planet, you know, kind of make this shift and go through this awakening process. So this is what we're surrounded by. So there's no reason ever to be sad or be in fear because look at all the love that we're surrounded by. It's incredible. So the UFOs, we're going to go to some UFO videos here. And the UFOs are all around us, and they're coming closer and closer. So every night when I take people out on tour, I mean, they're literally, it's like every single night they're coming a little bit closer. As it is, they're landing in front of us about a quarter of a mile away. It would take them, whoever the occupants are, probably 10 minutes to walk up to us. They haven't walked up to us yet. But I tell everybody, don't be in fear. These are a lot of these bodies of light travel in these. The UFOs is what I call ships of consciousness. So yeah, you know, in the old days we had the UFOs that were like the sphere, gray sphere in the sky. We still have those, but I'm not so sure that's not our government. You know, so we don't know if that's military or not.
Okay.
These higher dimensional beings they're traveling in ships of light. Their consciousness. It's like when I've been in the ships. I've got pictures of the ships, and I can show you that later. But when you're in the ship, it's like your consciousness is the pilot. You're literally, it's like they've got this tether in which it's hooked to your third eye, and you become one with the ship, and you're traveling with the ship. So it's like, I don't know if you guys remember the movie Knowing, Nicolas Cage.
Yes, I was thinking, I just
Yeah,
thought of that.
at the end of that movie,
Yes.
it was like a ship of light, and then the beings became these angelic, you know, light beings, and they brought the little kids on and took them to a new planet to seed a new planet, right? And so Could be what's happening, who knows? But, so look at the videos here. So when you see the videos, the UFO, people are expecting to see a UFO as a solid thing. What we're seeing is a ship of consciousness, and you'll hear me say power up. That's just a word that I use. I don't know what other word to use, but I'll say power up because what I'm getting them to do is to expand their propulsion field.
Okay.
So they travel on some type of electromagnetic frequency, which I'm calling a propulsion field, and I've got pictures of propulsion fields as well.
Okay.
So, okay, so this is all these videos were taken last night. And we're going to go through a series of videos here, just so that you can see how close they are to us, how bright. The light is unnaturally bright. And it takes a moment for me to get...
Right there, power up. Contact,
So-
make contact. Make contact, here, Sedona.
So that's what I'm saying contact is when I catch
On the
one
ground,
of the
here,
ships of
Sedona,
consciousness.
SedonaUFO.com. Well, tomorrow night we saw 3 land and the lights merged together. Look without the goggles, guys, it's a red light. Look without the goggles. It's a red
So this was a red and white light at one time, and that's what the ships are about.
Camera's powering up. Power up, please, make contact. See here? Power up, make contact.
See how it's moving? It like pulses. It's like it's breathing.
Is it that part of it you're
Look
talking
at that
about?
light, guys.
Right here.
You've ever seen a red like that?
Can you see it? Right here.
Power up.
I can't get there.
Contact Sedona.
Right there.
Done. You see the propulsion field? If you look at my camera, you can see it pulsing.
Do you see how it's
See it?
breathing?
Look at that. See that?
Look at this stuff in the sky right here.
Yeah, that's catching my
We
eye.
saw pink. Oh,
This stuff right there,
down.
it blinked out.
Blinked out.
So now it's gonna, well, I'll say power up and it'll come back on.
Look at the blink. Oh, there it comes again, guys.
There's the propulsion
Power up.
field.
Power up. Power up.
Hey, the blinking up here is other ships that landed as well,
Red again.
as we go
Red
through
again.
the
Look at
series of
goggles.
videos.
For the goggles, you can't see the red.
And this is in an area that's pitch black dark. There's no
It's
source
out,
of
it's
light.
out in
Okay.
Boynton Canyon, out by Bradshaw Ranch. There's no houses, there's no anything out
You
there.
can see the propulsion field.
And because there's nobody out there, that's why they land.
Nice. Look at the blinking above you. Do you see that on the mountain?
See, it's not a plane, it's not moving. It's stationary.
Yeah. There's a lot
And
of UFOs.
planes don't disappear. Their lights are, you see their lights all the time. They don't disappear like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we started watching it come closer to the
I've
mountain.
got ATV and driven out there. There is nothing out there. You can go on Google Earth and see there's nothing out there. No road.
I have rented an ATV and gone out there to see if there's any military,
Anything that could.
because there's a lot of underground bases here, yeah.
Good. It's good to rule that out.
All right, we have
Right.
one on top of the mountain here. Wait, get that right.
Is this all from last night?
And there's Bear Mountain. We got a huge ship on top of the mountain, just landed.
You see it breathing, the propulsion field?
Make contact with us, please.
It's easier to see it on my
You can
computer.
move around,
No, I saw
move
that.
down, move into the mountain.
It's like
See,
signaling.
it pulses. Sometimes it gets really big, it's unnaturally
It's got a
bright.
light to it.
When you're looking at it without the goggles,
Look
it's
into-
like, we don't have lights that bright. At least I've never seen that.
It's got a pink light to it, so that's a Pleiadian ship. You see that?
So it has a pink light. The Pleiadian ships have a pink light to it.
Yeah.
And you can see that there's see how it's powering up right now? And just sitting right on top of Bear Mountain.
So much UFO activity out here in the canyon.
That one's really pulsating.
Yeah. No movement. Planes move. Anything we have moves in a consistent line, and you can
Definitely
see.
not the moon.
Yeah, no, not the moon. Well, you can't look at the moon. It will burn out the infrared.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I can't. I tell people
Oh.
we keep our back to the moon because it'll hurt my goggles.
Interesting.
Come in right here.
Yes.
Let's go for a ride. Take
You
us for a ride.
had a very open-minded tour, didn't you? They're like, yes, land right here. Most of them are like, and running.
Really powering up.
Some people do. Some people still get back into the car.
Yeah,
Say, we'll
scream
wait
and
for you in the
run.
car. We're good. We
Or
saw
they
it.
say, can we leave? Can we leave?
I had someone offer to double the pay if I took them away. Like, we will pay you more to leave right now. It's okay. I promise you, it's
Quite a
okay.
marketing ploy there.
Yeah. So what I'm using on these videos is military grade, 3rd generation night vision goggles. And those are hard to get a hold of, quite pricey, but they do the job.
I'm sure you can see a lot more with those that you'd miss otherwise.
Just the stargazing alone, if you got bored with the UFOs, because there's tons of UFO activity, and just with the star, you can see the Milky Way.
If you get bored with UFOs.
Yeah, because they're all around us. I mean, I'm
And this
telepathic.
right here.
So what's causing that light there now, that glow?
Video of the guy.
Is he on the other side
See,
of a
We
ridge?
have a new light out here.
But these guys all landed in front of us.
I'm out here every night. It's casting that right there. All those lights right there. Those are all new.
And when I say new, that means they just appeared. They weren't there when I arrived. And we had our back looking this way, and all of a sudden I looked there, and it's like, wow, that stuff just happened.
So I can't get the guys over on the mountain, but they're there. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we've got two lights here in front of us. It just landed. They're right here in front of us.
So you see the propulsion field right here, the one on the left.
But honestly,
There's the other guy on the right, he stayed pretty still. All of the action's on the left.
Look at this propulsion field it's doing. It just came out of nowhere.
And there's 2 ships coming up behind it.
Got there, but the other one,
You can see right there, the 2 smaller ships behind it.
How far away is this from where you and your tour
a
are?
little closer.
When you're looking at it without the goggles, it looks to be about a 15-minute walk.
Okay.
Make contact.
And it's in a part of the canyon, there's nothing, oh, that part of the canyon, there's no roads, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I'm seeing it start to glow. Is that from
Yeah.
that light?
It pulses, it's like a breathing, it's a consciousness, and it's breathing. And when you're inside these ships,
Close to us.
you're one with the
I don't
ship.
know if I'm getting more stupid or they're getting more brave, what the deal is.
Me more stupid. I'm sure that's it.
I got us all in the car.
There's
right
4 of
now.
them right there.
Do you ever feel like you're putting yourself at risk?
It's just, honestly, it could be.
Me, yes. I don't. They're not after the clients because they're not being telepathic. But yeah.
Do you think you take some chances to get what you want to get? Oh, we've got time for one short video.
Okay.
Oh, keep back strong. There he is. Power up.
This is the guy that was on top of Bear Mountain, and he's been moving down Bear Mountain.
On the mountain.
A guy?
On top of the mountain.
Or
See,
a
this
UFO?
disappears.
Powering up, powering down. Look at the flashing over the mountain.
Right here?
Going on.
That's not a plane. It's not moving.
What about the one lower and to the right?
Right there too.
Staying still.
It's not moving.
What you see over
Okay.
the mountain is not moving, so it's not a plane. Power up, make contact. Come on, do something for us. Give us a show. Well, just blink down.
They don't perform on command all the time,
Both of
huh?
you, we got 2 on the
Most
ground.
of the time they do.
Both of you guys show back up. You see
These
them
guys right
there.
up here is what I've kept filming to see what they would do.
They're kind of right on the outskirts of that glow.
There's that guy blinking on and off. Now, that could be.
There's one down on the ground right here.
I think maybe the saving grace for your clients on this is they're not landing 10 feet
Right
away
here.
from your car.
Here's one in the air, and he's showing the propulsion field right here.
I'm looking at through the camera, yeah. It's powering up.
This was really bright.
Yeah, we got quite a show going on.
Right here, this guy.
Yep.
Look at that. Then he just blinks off.
That's great. Now I see why your tours are having such a fun time. Thank you for sharing these with us
Absolutely.
today. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what you have for us next week.
We are not alone.
I bet. Well, thank you so much. We're going to be
Absolutely.
right back after this break.
Over here.
Thank you.
We'll be right back, and a couple audience members will be getting free psychic readings, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Mystical Sedona. And now it's time for some free psychic readings for our audience members. Is there anybody who's interested in having a little mini reading today? All right. So welcome back. I'm glad to have you here, Vishali. She's our volunteer today for a reading. Welcome to the show, Vishali.
Thank you for choosing me.
And so what's your question today?
Well, I have been living in Sedona for 4 years, and I have a very successful tour business, and it's great during the busy season. So I am looking at also expanding what I'm doing in the world and looking at what other things are possible.
Okay, so you want to know what's out there for you to expand your business.
Or in conjunction with in the slow seasons.
Okay. I actually feel an expansion. You're moving into a different area about 4 months from now. So this is something you've already spoken with somebody about. I feel like there's a partnership involved in this. And some other things coming through about this, so let me just get this. I know you did mention that you do tours, and what I'm seeing is like it's not something different from your tours. It's an addition to your current tours, something else that you're offering on the tours. And this is somebody you've already spoken to who was interested in being a part of your tours or going with you on tours. I feel like this is a man.
Oh, all right. Well, there's been somebody I was talking to about expanding the ideas of the tours.
Yeah.
And it was a guy.
Like they have an idea about what it should be, but I want to look at one thing about that for you, just financially. Just because somebody has an idea doesn't mean it's going to take off. What's his first name?
Wolf.
Okay. I feel that being almost instantaneously a financial boost to your business that's not just a certain time of year, but on an ongoing basis. So that's a good partnership. That's a good idea. And I see it already being integrated into your current business within 4 months. So I think that's a really good way to go, and it's going to pay off for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then there's been also this idea that I've had about maybe actually taking on teaching meditation more formally,
Okay.
possibly even online or something.
I'm hearing integrating that. Like I feel like it's a slow, like you start doing that, but you're doing more of your tours, and slowly that becomes a bigger part of your business. There's something for you in that that's important to balance out your life so you're not always doing tours. I think you really enjoy meeting the people, but it's better balance when you're to a point where you're doing more of your meditation and your tours. So you'll be happier with that balance. So that's a good idea. But it will be a slower integration into your business. So yeah, I think you should start that, when you're ready to do it, and be confident that it's going to be a really good thing for you spiritually and mentally, definitely.
Yeah, thanks.
You're
Yeah, thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you so much for letting me read
Thank
for you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And I want to thank our special guest today. That was Luna Star Van Atta. She's the author of The Secret Life of an Astral Traveler. Ooh, listen, she gets astral music. And next week, our very own Sandrea, who does our Astrology Fast Blast, will be our special guest. And she's going to be talking about a topic near and dear to all of our hearts. So tune in next week when we're talking about trust. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have an extraordinary week, and we'll see you next week.